a life on the road upgrade. We're gonna go from a classic cooler to a 12-volt electric ICECO fridge. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's going on, friends? If you're new here, my name is Rob Pelton, and I put out a lot of adventure type videos, from backcountry backpacking to travel, and now living out of a car type stuff. So that's kind of what you dig as well. It's great to see you stopping by. We have been on the road for a couple of months now, and we still got, like 10 more months to go. So some things that stood out right off the bat that needed massive improvement. The first thing is our refrigeration. Now, this is the cooler that we were provided. It's just a classic cooler. You got your standard thin walls, insulation around the outside, no insulation up top. You got your drain plug here. Just a basic cooler in every respect. And it does okay. The big downsides are you need to buy ice. A lot of ice. And buying ice every other day at $3 to $5 a bag just to keep things in the cooler at a proper temperature. Now, drinks, not a problem. Drinks can fluctuate a little bit here or there, but when it comes to produce or meat, those are the things you really need at a constant temperature. And that is extremely hard to do with a conventional style cooler. As I was searching for alternatives, I wanted to go the electric cooler route because there's no ice, which means there's no moisture, there's no draining. In theory, you can keep temperatures exactly where they need to be, and some of them can even work as a freezer, like a deep freezer down to 0 degrees. And in my research, like through sites like Amazon, watching different reviews and opinions, when it comes to electric fridges, 12-volt fridges, you really do get what you pay for. There are a lot of these types of coolers like on Amazon, and they're made from China, and they're cheap, which means they don't work the best, they're not as durable, and they're very inconsistent. And the two brands that popped up more than anything else as far as longevity, durability, and value was ICECO, and then of course Dometic. Now, Dometic and ICECO, they're like the two kings on the mountain in my opinion, but in doing more research about what you get and how they perform, the ICECO was a way better value, way more bang for your buck, because it performed just as well and it was significantly cheaper. So this is what I did. I looked up ICECO, I did research on their company, and I reached out to them. And I said, hey, I'm on the road full time, living out of here. I'm looking for a better option than a standard cooler. Do you have a unit I could use and test for the channel? And they said, yes. So they shipped out this fridge. This is the one that I chose. It's their JP40. It's about a 42-liter capacity. But the dimensions are very similar to the original cooler I had, and it has enough capacity to carry the food and drinks that we need to be on the road. I do understand that there's a weird thing about getting free products and reviewing them. Just to preface this, I never guarantee positive reviews on any of the things that I get for free. I reached out to them and asked them for this fridge. A couple of quick specs on the exterior of the fridge. It is 23 inches long, 13.8 inches wide, and 17.5 inches tall. And the whole thing empty weighs just over 35 pounds. And the temperature range is from 0 degrees Fahrenheit up to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can use it as a deep freezer, or you can use it as just a regular refrigerator. As far as capacity goes, it's 42 quarts, which means it'll hold like 58 cans of beer or soda. And it has two different compartments. This is your main storage, and this one's just like a sub-compartment. I think this actually stays a little warmer than that. They also give you this little basket with a divider, so you can organize things a little bit better, or if you need to transport things quickly, you can just take the whole basket out and leave the cooler inside the car. As far as the internal dimensions, I'll leave a graphic up there so you can see the outside and the internal dimensions. But in the research I was doing, this was the perfect size for what we need. It is their JP40 model. Now they do make a couple of different JP40s, like there's a JP40 Pro. There's also another one that's controlled by a phone app. I didn't need any of that. I just needed basic, and I need it to work. When I first got this and pulled it out of the box was like really good packaging. It was very, very well insulated. But these handles did not come installed. There's just these 4 little pads, these little covers that you just pop off. You just with your fingers is fine. And they give you all the hardware you need, from all the screws and the washers, and you have your mounting blocks for the cooler, and then also the grab handles as well. But the installation was very, very straightforward, and you needed no tools of your own because it came with everything. As far as power goes, they give you all the cables you basically need. This is the main power cable that plugs into the fridge itself. You can plug it right into your wall at home if you wanted to. They also give you an alternate cable that plugs right into the cooler that will actually plug into your car's cigarette lighter. Now, a lot of cars nowadays actually don't have cigarette lighters, but I hope you know what I'm talking about. It's the 12-volt round socket that's in most cars. The cool part about the Outback is they actually have one right in the back we can tap into. And they even give you an extension cord to where if this needs to plug into your lighter and you need to run a higher length, you can just extend this. But fortunately, since we have that outlet in the back here, we're only going to need the one cable. And the one big thing I had to do in order to get the new cooler in and everything is I had to remove the existing slider that I built. But this homemade platform, it worked okay. Like I said, I'm not a carpenter, so the slide mechanism, it actually bound up a little bit. It was hard to pull out and hard to push back in. But this is very bulky and very heavy. And into talking with ICECO, I also asked them for one of their self-contained slider units. Now this is made out of metal, it's self-contained, but this thing slides out buttery smooth, and it's narrower, it's got a smaller footprint, but it's designed specifically for my cooler. Now here's the value with a store-bought slide unit. This unit is completely self-contained. It's made out of metal, so it's not subject to humidity and weather. It is buttery smooth, and it supports the full weight of a full cooler on this thing. And then installing it, you just bolt it to the platform and you're good. Now with the homemade slider, it was cheaper. It was probably about $100 to put it all together, but it did not slide as well as I needed it to. It takes up a lot more room because these 2x4s, you know, they're just wider. It takes up so much more room on the platform. This store-bought one just streamlines everything. This one had a good run, but it's time to say goodbye. Now this is the platform that I built in Colorado, and it's the one that I'm currently using and will be using for the rest of this year. Now I'm not a carpenter, I just designed it how I thought it makes sense. I did film a little bit specifically about this, so here's that. This whole thing is pretty much made out of 2x4 and 3/4 inch birch plywood. Now it costs a couple bucks, but I wanted something nice. As far as width goes, this so it's able to slide right in the back and go all the way up to the front seats. Now I could have got fancy, made it longer and made cutouts for where the back seats are, but I just kept it a square. And this was cut to 43 inches wide by 36 inches deep. And I ordered some 24-inch slides from Amazon. They were kind of expensive, they're probably about 80 bucks, but I basically just kind of measured it and installed everything. There was no scientific way. And then I just cut some 2x4s to fit it. Now, something's a little off because it is not the easiest to slide in and out. You know, there might be some warping or bending or something, but it doesn't matter because I'm taking this slide off. And if you're wondering about how big the board is for the slider, it's 28 inches deep by 17 inches wide. This is what fit the original cooler that's going here. Now underneath it is where it gets kind of interesting. Look at all that. The one big thing that you notice right off the bat is the 4 corners here. There's 2 here, 2 over there. Now this is the side that is towards the back, towards the trunk. And it's 2 inches longer. This is actually an 8-inch leg. Towards the front of the car, towards the front seats, this is a 6-inch leg. Why did I do that? Mainly because there's a drop where the trunk area is, so I had to make up for that distance. Also, with a lot of weight that's in the back of the car, the whole car, the suspension kind of, compresses a little bit. So in order for it to be as even and level as possible, I made that 2-inch difference, and it's worked out really well. I could have angled these legs at the bottom, but that's just too fancy for me. Now you're gonna see a couple of other things, right? You have a little peg here, a peg here, one in the middle, and one up top, and then there's a little board back here. I made these basically as guides for the drawers that fit here. There's a drawer system here and another drawer system here. There's just plastic ones. These are here to guide it in and keep it from shifting left to right, or for keep them from shifting back. So all these are just guides to keep those drawers in place. I also got some T-nuts and installed those here, and I screwed in these little eye bolts. And there's 4 eye bolts, and they're basically correspond with the 4 corners. And these are what anchors this platform down to the actual car. In the outbacks, in the trunks, they got these little tie-out points, these little D-rings, and there's 4 of them. And this is what allows me to cinch everything down and keep that platform from moving. And honestly, all I use to cinch everything down is big, fat, heavy-duty zip ties. These are 24 inches with 175-pound rating. As long as it doesn't shift and there's no momentum, these will hold really well. And if you mess it up, you can just clip them and use another one. Then also on the bottom, you can see I have those zip ties here and here. These are what anchors down my kitchen box. I basically just created little loops with these heavy-duty zip ties, and that allows the ratchet strap to hook into here, and then I can hook the other side down into the car anchor. That's a quick overview of the platform. Nothing fancy, nothing real genius, just what made sense to me, and so far it's working. Just to give you a little visual, this is how it's kind of going to look like in the back of the car. I have the kitchen box, and you can see this in another video that I'll link in the description about how this whole build out works. But with this and the cooler next to it, let's see the difference between the old slider and the new slider. Here's the old slider. You can see how much real estate it actually takes. And not only that, I think these 2x4s got a little unsquare, which is why the slider's bound up on me and it was really, really hard to slide. Now I'm replacing this with this. You can see it's got a way smaller form factor. It takes up less surface area, so now we can put things in between, or if I slide it closer to this box, and now we can stuff things on this side between the car and the actual cooler. And not only that, the sliding mechanism is it's infinitely nicer. That alone is worth the hassle in my opinion. And if you're not very skilled with wood, or a slider like this, you can install with very, very basic tools. As far as mounting the slider onto this platform, this is what I've done. I've drilled 8 holes into the actual platform, a 3/8 inch hole, because that hole needs to be big enough for these T-nuts. Now what's a T-nut? Here's the basic plan here. Now these T-nuts, you can see it has a little barrel and it's got these little spikes here. Now this is designed to go into the hole. This is go on the bottom of the platform so it fits flush. Now on the top side, through the actual slider, through the wood and into the T-nut, it all draws down and cinches up. Now it makes everything very streamlined, especially underneath, because underneath the platform I have drawers and I can't have any nuts or anything in the way to impede that. So therefore I got these T-nuts, and once you draw them in, these spikes, these little spikes things, draw into the wood and makes everything flush. That's the method to my madness. Another way to install T-nuts is you get them on the back side here, put it right in the hole, and then just smash them in. Now that is done, and now you can see the threads down in the top here. So what's nice is now we're looking from the top down, and these screws simply screw right down into there, and the tighter you make them, the more that T-nut draws up into the plywood and it cinches everything down. So all I'm going to do now is just test fit it, make sure everything's good, and the holes line up. We've already test fitted everything to make sure that the cooler on here fits in the trunk, so the trunk lid is able to close. So we did all that yesterday, and I marked the holes, and that's where I did all the drilling and stuff today. And of course, I got washers on these nuts just to help it out a little bit. So it's kind of test fitted right now. I haven't cinched anything down, but look at this slider. I mean, light years different from my homemade one. That by itself is exciting for me. Everything looks pretty good, but there's one more step. Just for a little extra precaution to keep the bolts from backing out, I'm just gonna put a little bit of Loctite on it. Nothing crazy, this is just blue Loctite. It is removable, you have to crank it and it'll break it. This just gives the threads a little bit of friction and just helps it from backing out. So now that is installed and as solid as it can get. Let's take a look at the underside. You can see everything's flush and just perfect. Finally got everything installed. The platform is mounted in. The kitchen box is mounted in, and that's real solid. And then of course, the cooler is mounted on its slide. They also give you these pull straps. There's two on this side and two on the other side, and they basically just hold the cooler down. They strap onto the handles, and then there's little points on the actual slide to just kind of keep everything solid. And like I mentioned, this slide, I mean, it's as smooth as it can be. Solid. And then open it up. Got enough clearance, I can keep the whole thing open now. Access to what I need to access. And most importantly, all the measurements have been done. So the trunk closes without anything hitting. Now that this is installed, I'm looking forward to getting everything else packed up and hitting the road. And I'm really curious on how it's going to perform. With the research I've done, it should perform extremely well, keeping everything cold as it should be. And then more importantly, I don't have to buy ice anymore. That's like not even a thing anymore. If you have any questions about ICECO or the slide or this particular unit, leave those questions, comments down in the comment area below. If you got questions just about road life, living out of a Subaru, leave those questions in the comment area below. Otherwise, appreciate you watching. If you want to know more about ICECO, I'll leave a link to their website down in the description of this video. And ICECO was also kind enough to give my subscribers a discount if you want to purchase your own as well. So that was kind of a nice thank you. Anyways, be sure to get outside, find your own adventure, enjoy this big, beautiful world, and we'll see you on the road. Thanks. It's so nice.